inviting me here today. It's very exciting, this workshop. And so my name is Sølvi, but I'm, in spite of my very strange name, I'm representing Marseille. And my team and the work that I'm going to present here is work that we've done in our team with my colleagues Richard and Mitsuko and all our PhD students. So, for those who are not really familiar with analysis synthesis, I'm just going to say a couple of words of what it really consists in. So, analysis synthesis consists of constructing a synthetic sound generally from a natural sound. And so what we do is that we record a sound and we analyze the sound, and we get some nice time frequency or time scale representations. And from these representations, we can extract parameters that we use in our synthesis algorithms. And then we can reconstruct synthetic sounds that are perceptually identical to natural sound. So for those of you who think that synthesized sounds are only noises and sinusoids, I'm just going to play some sound examples that we've done quite well several years ago. One example of violin, additive synthesis of violin sound. So you will hear first a very basic sound and then how the sound constructs by adding little elementary functions. Then I'll play piano sound and some environmental sounds, just so you get an idea of the quality. So an original piano song. And the resynthesis. Sorry. And so in later years we've been also working on environmental sound. So here you hear some stones. So as you hear, we can more or less perfectly reconstruct natural sounds now. So the resynthesis is not really the issue now. The issue is, what you saw, is the control. How do we control these sound synthesis algorithms, and that might contain hundreds of parameters, so it can be very complicated. And also there are other questions linked to the control of the synthesis. How do we, for instance, construct sounds from a verbal description of a situation? For instance, what do we do if somebody says, I want a sound from a big barrel that is rolling on the stone floor? Or even worse, if somebody wants a sound that doesn't exist, but that evokes something. For instance, the sound of a rolling orchestra or a bouncing instrument, for instance. That is quite hard if you don't have any ideas of what we really perceive in the sound. So this is why actually we got some new challenges here. So for instance, how do we control sound quality? And how do we control evocations induced by sounds? And how do we synthesize sounds from semantic descriptions? So if I ask you to listen to the three following sounds. I think you all will recognize, well, first of all, the action maybe, and Guillaume Lemaitre would say that it's mainly the action that you will hear, first of all, and that might be true. Maybe it's easier to recognize the action than the object, but I think you all still recognize also the metallic kind of texture of the sounds that you heard. And also, if you try to analyze these sounds, do some single analysis, the morphology of the sounds are very different, but from a perceptual view, there are some structures that are common. So we're trying to look into these common structures, and so our hypothesis is that there are some morphological invariants in these sounds that are responsible for the recognition of sound events. And this is in line with the ecological approach of perception proposed by Gibson, and that McAdams has also talked a lot about. And it was actually Steve who came to our lab some years ago, and he told us that I think you should look into this invariant stuff because I think you have all the tools needed for this. So we did it. And so I'm going to, we did several experiments, but I'm going to just rapidly describe two of them. So there was one industrial approach that we did with Peugeot Citroën, where we analyzed car door noise, and another approach which we called a neuroacoustic approach, where we're looking for invariant responsible for the recognition of material categories. So in the first example, the aim was to identify signal structures responsible for the evocation of car quality. And so the car constructors had actually discovered that the clients who are going to buy their car, they often slam the car door. And this very, very short noise that you can hear here sounds very insignificant. It seems to be very, very important for the idea of the quality and the solidity of the car that you're buying. So unconsciously, people pay attention to this sound. And this is why they paid a PhD student for 3 years. Her name was Marie-Céline Beza, who was working on this question. And the main questions were, how the listener attribute meaning to such a short signal? And what do the listeners actually perceive in this signal? And would it be possible to predict the sound quality ratings from signal morphology? So only by analyzing car door sound could we predict the sound quality. And so we did several listening tests. So what we did was that we forced the subject either to focus on the natural properties, according to the Gaber's distinction between natural listening and analytical listening. And so in the first case, they were supposed to describe the source, what they heard. So we had both naive and expert listeners. And so in the first part, we asked naive listeners to evaluate the quality, the solidity, the closure energy, and the door weight of 26 sounds. And we also asked experts to evaluate the same sound according to their own criteria. So it was more linked to technical aspects like lock mechanism, vibrations, joint noise, and so on. And so what we found was that people agreed actually on these words, closure energy, door weight, and so on, and they did more or less the same classification of the 26 sounds. So there was a mutual agreement, so that was the first step. It was very interesting. And so in the second part, concerning the analytical properties, it was more difficult to force listener to concentrate on the sound morphology. So what we did here was that we did what we call a sensory analysis. So we trained a sensory panel of naive subjects for several weeks, and so they came up with their own descriptors that was linked to the signal morphology. And so first there were both acoustic descriptors, verbal labels, onomatopoeia, and so they did the sound evaluation of the same previous 26 sounds according to these descriptors. And what we found was that the main descriptions of these sounds were ka, boom, intense, and the presence of high and low frequency impacts. And this is very interesting from from an analysis point of view, because it gave us indication on what to look for in this very short and complex signal. And I don't have time to go further into details, but what was very nice about this study was that we, from statistical analysis afterwards and so on, managed to find a link between very, very basic signal parameters concerning impact levels, closure levels, damping, duration between impacts. So it was even more basic than Timbre descriptors actually. And we found a link to the natural properties of the weight of the door and the energy of the closure, and then up to the evocations of solidity and quality. So this is something that is still used now at Peugeot Citroën, so they're kind of adapting the car doors according to this study. So in the second part, we studied the categorization of sound from different materials. So the aim here was to identify signal structures responsible for the evocation of materials. And so we combined sound synthesis and brain imaging. So it was essentially Mitsuku who was responsible for this study. And what we did was that we recorded sound from wood, glass, and metal And then we resynthesized them, and we did a morphing between the different material categories. So you will hear an example of a transition from wood and metal here. So we mixed all these sounds and we asked people to categorize them in one of the three categories, glass, wood, or metal. And at the same time, we measured their brain activity by a potential approach. And what we found was that there was an early differentiation in their brain activity of metal compared to wood and glass. And this made us think that, well, we knew actually that damping is very, very important for identification of material categories, but we didn't really know what the other descriptor would be. And so actually this early differentiation made us think that it might not be a temporal descriptor that would be responsible for this differentiation. So we more looked into the spectral descriptors, and we found that it was actually the roughness that was responsible for this differentiation. And so of course we found damping. That was not a surprise. So both global damping and frequency-dependent damping. And so this study made it possible for us to propose a perceptual timbre space of materials. So here you see that we have the global damping, the frequency-dependent damping, and the roughness on the vertical axis. And what was really interesting for us from a synthesis point of view regarding this material space was that it really told us how we could continuously change a glass sound into something that evoked metal, and from metal to something that evoked wood. So this made us go a step further toward our intuitive sound synthesizer. So what we did after this study was that we proposed mapping strategies based on these perceptual evaluation. And so, as I said in the beginning, it's very hard to know how to control or evoke something from very, very basic synthesis parameters. So we proposed a strategy with two kinds of mapping. So we first had a mapping between the basic single parameters and the sound descriptors. So there were 10 descriptors. So for the material, actually, we don't see the, they have disappeared, I think, the arrows, but so between the material category and there was a link between the roughness and the damping, but we also did other studies on the size and shape of the material, so they were linked to pitch and inharmonicity, and then the excitation was linked to attack time and brightness and so on. And so, so these were the high-level descriptors that we could then propose, and this was how we made our first intuitive synthesizer, where we could continuously, we had the material space here, so we could just imagine a sound from wood, for instance, and we could decide the shape of the object that produced the sound, the size, and also the hardness of the mallet of the excitation. So I'm just going to play a short film illustrating this. So for instance, if you want to play the sound from a wooden bar, then you would go to wood, bar, and you would choose the size, and you would have the sound. It's a bit low, but yeah. And then you could transform this sound into metallic. And then you could change the size of this bar. And so it's a very easy way of controlling sounds. You could turn it into a plate. Increase the size of the plate, for instance. Or go to the glass category and simulate the glass, for instance, with a shell type of object. So we often say that this is a synthesizer for the grandmother. My God! Okay, thank you. And so, so we found that there are invariants linked to the object. And so what we were wondering was whether we could also control the action intuitively. So there were several studies on these other kinds of invariants that we call transformational invariants. And I don't have time to describe these studies, but Alden Merer did a nice PhD project on the characterization of motion evoked by abstract sound. And Etienne Toré, who's here, he worked on the perception of biological movement. It's not what he's going to talk about tomorrow, but if you have questions, he can answer all, and very nice work. And Simon Conan did some work on interactions such as rolling movements. So this showed actually that we believe that transformational invariants also exist. And so this made it possible for us to propose a new synthesis paradigm that we call the action-object paradigm. And actually what we state is that we can simulate the action and the object independently, and any sound is the result of an action on an object. And from a physical point of view, this is not really correct, because you know that there are nonlinear interactions between the action and the object, but from a perceptual point of view, this works quite well. So this made it possible for us to combine any action to any object. So for instance, rubbing a plate, like this. But what was even more interesting was that we could rub the wind. Because Etienne made this example. Or make a water drop bounce. So what is interesting with this is it's not like a traditional cross-synthesis, because you're not really simply mixing two sounds, but you conserve the quality of the action and the object, so you recognize both of them when you mix invariants. So we made a new synthesizer in which you had also, in addition to the object space, you had the action space. So we could go continuously from scratching to rubbing to rolling, for instance, and we could control it with the tablet. Creating a new, what we call a metaphorical sound language. So in addition to the solid synthesizer that I've shown here, we have added liquid synthesis as well. And what is interesting is that we can simulate both independently, but if we go to this mixture space here, we can either play only with solid sounds, only with liquid sounds, or we can make them interact, or we can transform both into some kind of hybrid state that is quite difficult to describe and understand, but it's better than play the video. So here you have kind of action, flowing, shaping, impact, boiling. It's quite difficult to find the verbal labels also linked to this. So now we're only playing the solid sounds. So if we go from liquid to the interaction, we have the water that is dripping on the metallic plate. And if you go up to the hybrid state, you will have kind of the drops that turn into metallic drops. So it's kind of a very strange mixture of the two of them. It's metallic brain, more or less. And so the challenge now, and what we're really wondering now, is how to represent sounds or represent these sound spaces. And it's obviously not the ideal way of controlling songs with the verbal labels and so on. So maybe we can imagine something else, some tactile interfaces or some 3D space where we can more easily control our sound. So we also hope maybe that we can work on this with artists also in our new laboratory that just started on January the 1st in Marseille. So we're no longer LMA, but we're PRISM. So it stands for Perception, Interpretation, Image, Sound and Music. So we hope that we will be able to collaborate with a lot of you within this new laboratory. Thank you. Yes?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting. I was wondering, when you talk about material,
yeah.
You're talking about material of the object being hit. How about the material of the mallet?
Of the mallet, yeah, sure. So for the time being, what we have is we can play on we only use impact, you know. So we don't take into account the material of the mallet for the time being. It's either very hard or very soft, you know, or you can play with the hardness of the mallet.
But those were pre-recorded, right?
And they pardon?
Those sounds, they were pre-recorded, analyzed, and then you re-synthesize.
Yeah, all this is synthesis actually. So we just inject a direct or something very punctual into our sound synthesis. It's a subtractive synthesis. So we have hundreds of filters actually. So this is how we create all these sounds.
So it doesn't come from a recording of...
No, it only, the recordings were only used in the very beginning when we tried to understand the material category. So we did the recording of natural sound, and then we immediately synthesized the natural sound and started to work on the synthesized sound. So this is how so the natural sounds are used as a reference in the beginning to find out what is actually inside the sound, and then we only work on the sound synthesis. So it's really an analysis by synthesis approach. So we use synthesis to understand human perception. This is the way it works.
Okay, yeah. So the sharp is just how short the impulse is when it hits the material.
You mean the control in the sound synthesizer in the beginning? Yeah. Okay. You can either inject more a Gaussian or a very, very narrow Gaussian or almost an impulse. Yeah.
Thank you.
So actually, to follow on that question, so when you synthesize the actions, do you have pre-stored, let's say for example for the rolling, do you have a pre-stored repetitive pattern?
Yeah.
You just go
For the rolling it's quite complicated because there's no physical model that can explain also how it works and what is making the sound. Is it the object that rolls, or is it the surface on which it rolls? The physicians, they don't really know what is what. But so this is an empirical model. So, but when you simulate scratching and rubbing, it's just a succession of impacts, more or less dense, you know. But with rolling, you need the succession of impacts need to follow a specific statistical law. Otherwise, it doesn't. You don't perceive the rolling. So and so it depends on it's like several bouncings successive. And so when the ball bounces a lot, then of course it will make more time to fall down than if it bounces just a little. So you have this relation between the amplitude of the ball that bounces and the time delay between the bouncings. So it's more, rolling is more.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on your three-dimensional space you had roughness on the y-axis.
Yeah.
Was that roughness measured in any particular way?
I think we used Vasilaki's model. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Is that the one Is that the one used with your class?
I don't know.
Okay. We'll talk about it later.
But what we actually did when we did the synthesis afterwards was that we kind of added more spectral components, to densify the sound, the spectrum. So we played on this amount of spectral components in the sound. This was how, we could add more metallic aspects to the sound. Yeah.
So does your synthesis work in basically inside frequency domain?
time frequency because we have to take also into account the time evolution that's in dynamics that's extremely important. So it's everything's time evolving.
Right, well, I guess my question is, do you simulate individual components of whatever scenario you're trying to simulate, or do you just, it's all
Yeah,
in the
try to
parameters?
understand, you mean we're trying to understand the perception. So what we do is that we remove and add components and so on to see what is heard, what's not heard, and it's kind of a cooking exercise, where you add or remove components and then you find out what's really important for the perception.
Okay. I have a last question.
Yes?
Okay, this might sound stupid, but could
No,
you imagine?
that's the worst question. The stupid questions are the most scary ones.
Could you imagine, for example, to map one attribute, one of those many attributes,
Yeah.
for example, to the color of an object? For example, the heat or whatever.
Yeah, you're more into the idea of sonification and how
Yeah,
we
I think
could
that-
use this for sonification.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Then I don't know if, perceptually what is meaningful or not meaningful, that I wouldn't be able to say, but yeah, it could be used. Actually, we're using the sound synthesizer for in many applications, like we're adding sound to propose tools for instance, for dysgraphic children who have problems in writing. So when the writing is very irregular and the sound is not nice, and so we can in real time play on the quality of the sound as a function of the movement or the movement of both players, for instance. And so we use and also in music, of course, it's we use it with drummers, for instance. It's very nice that they finally can play with different timbres. They can according to the way they play. Whether they play very softly. You could map, for instance, the force of the mallet to the material. So when they play softly, it's more wooden, and when they play more strongly, it becomes metallic. Well, it's an artistic choice afterwards. But many possibilities. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you